the arena. For first, you see those white blocks of marble on the opposite side. Those are some of the original seats which have been replaced by the archaeologists to visualize the. And as outside the building has got 3 stories of arches, in here there were 3 tiers of seats. The small portion was the first tier once all around the arena. Basically, the first tier would have been between the brick wall in front of you and the brick walls behind you. You see, the area that we walked to come in here was once a gallery, so there was a ceiling and outside the seats. The Romans used to walk in the gallery, along which they found openings, where I am now, to go out of the gallery and take the seats once above you. The first tier was very small because it was reserved to the patricians, the noble class of Rome. So the senators, 300 senators in the imperial age, the magistrates, the knights, and the ambassadors. The second tier was the largest, and you can still see on the left the inclined wall on which once there would have been the seats and the openings to come out. The second tier was for the plebeians, the common people of Rome. And the Romans used to call those openings in a very peculiar way. Now I'm going to tell you the term, but get ready because it's disgusting. They used to call those openings vomitorias. Vomitorias, because people used to come out as fast as vomit. So like vomiting people. That's why vomitorias. Then the third tier up there, that was for the slaves. You know, the Colosseum was opened in 81 after Christ. In Rome there were already 1 million inhabitants and about 30% of them were slaves. So the slaves could go everywhere in the ancient city. In the public buildings they had their own separate sections. Then above the slaves there was a 4th level, but not a regular seats, like a wooden seats, which were located on the top of the brick wall with the windows. You see, up there, wooden seats for women. Yes. But why the women above the slaves? You see, really not because of a prejudice or a discrimination. I would say for a sort of security. Can you imagine at those days 60,000 Romans packed in here for hours, usually in the heat of the Italian sun, watching the gladiators, eating, drinking wine. You see, in order to avoid too much excitement of the crowd, they preferred to keep the men and the women separated. That's why we were on the very top. In all the public buildings, men and women were separated. And then... And then the arena itself has gone. Today in the middle you just see the ruins of the underground levels. Below the arena there were 2 regular floors in which the Romans used to keep whatever they needed for the games. In the lower level all the cages for the animals. In the upper level the equipments for the gladiators, an emergency for them, and all the sceneries. Once above these walls, there would have been the floor of the arena, which was made out of timber, like the stage in a theater, so that, of course, the Romans didn't see the walls. They just saw a wooden floor covering everything. Then, all over the wooden floor, there was sand. Sand was the best material to soak the blood. Sand, in Latin, is arena. That's why we still call this area the arena. It's Latin for sand, like the Romans used to call it. Then on the arena there were also a lot of openings, like trapdoors openings, below which there were the lifts to carry up the animals, the gladiators, the sceneries, directly in the middle of the stage. The lifts were made out of timber and they were moved by the slaves, who had pulleys and counterweights. Of course, the lifts have gone, but we can still see the sections. You see these grey thin pillars in travertine coming out from the bricks everywhere, that you just see the top of them. We're still stressing the square sections for the lifts to go up and down. And in fact, on them, you can see moves made out for the cables that had to pull the lifts. Then, of course, the arena was also surrounded by a tall metal fence to keep safe the people along the games with the wild animals. Those white blocks of marble lying on the left-hand side of the arena, that's a portion of the original marble base to keep up the metal fence. But you see, the animals many times tried to grasp the metal fence to jump over the crowd. So for the real security of the people, all around the arena, in the square niches that you can still see at the base, there were the archers, soldiers, constantly ready to shoot at the animals. So the games were really safe for the spectators. And as you know, the games in here started usually in the late morning. For the Romans, the late morning was 9:30. I remind you that in the ancient city, the daytime started at 5 o'clock. That was named Ora Prima, the first hour. And in the Roman Forum, there were trumpeters that at 5 in the morning, at noon, and 4 p.m. used to play trumpets in order to announce these very important moments of the day. And in the morning on this arena, there were only the games with the animals. The most renowned is Venatio, the hunting game. Romans had in here sceneries like fake trees, fake rocks that could be set all over the arena to turn the area into a natural landscape, like a wood, a jungle. Once everything got ready, animals out, and then the gladiators. But they were really named venatores, the hunters, and they were given a whip, a spear, a wooden oval shield on the left arm, and leather bands and gems to keep safe the arms and the legs. Sometimes on top they had a tunic. But as you can see, no metal armor, no sword, no helmet, because this game had to be a realistic imitation of a hunting in a wood. So those gladiators were equipped like the common hunters of those days. That's why wooden shields and leather bands. Sometimes they were also given horses to ride on along the game. Plus, there were in here many other games with the animals. For instance, I remind you that the Romans were the first who trained animals in order to organize a show. So people could also watch in here some lions or tigers which could catch a rabbit running over the arena in their big mouth. And without killing the tiny rabbit, they could bring it back to the trainer, mansuetudinarius in Latin. So some of these games in the end are also the origin of our modern circus. But you see, even the bullfighting that we can still see in Spain originated on the Roman arenas. There are a lot of Roman mosaics displaying bullfightings of those days. Then all these games with the animals were always over for lunch. Here there would have been a break, usually a long break,